What's up, guys? It's Jake Cobran, and you're listening to another episode of the Quarantine Sessions podcast, which are all conversations recorded through Instagram Live with some of my most inspired and inspiring friends. This episode is with Chris Dyer. Chris is an amazing visionary artist and street artist, kind of bridging those two worlds, and overall cool guy and founder of Positive Creations, which is a brand that showcases his art in a variety of different wearable forms. And Chris is just ruthlessly positive and always inspiring to talk to, and I really enjoyed this conversation. Chris is, at the time of recording this conversation, with his family in Peru, and I had a lot of fun with this. So I really hope you enjoy listening to this conversation as well. Without further ado, here's Chris Dyer.
Hi.
What's up, bro? How you doing?
Good, yeah.
Good, man.
Starting
Where
the
you
day out
at?
here. You say what now?
Where are you right now?
I'm in a town called Quilmana in Peru. It's like 2 hours south of Lima. It's where my parents live now. So yeah, I've been living here for the last 4 months. I came to spend the winter to just kind of like get away from Canadian coldness, and in the South Hemisphere it was summer. And then one day before returning to Canada, the border closed on me. So I've been here in Marshall this last month and a half. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, but it's been good, right?
Yeah, it's all blessed. It's a psychological um, thing more than anything, because in reality, other than the inability to go to the beach and buy food and art materials properly, or really travel back to Canada or see my friends and etc., it's kind of like fine, like my parents live on a piece of land. It's a little acre with like fruit trees, and we got food, and it's sunny every day, and I get to run, and I still got enough art materials to keep me busy. Um, so if anything, it's just kind of like forced me to be like, okay, it's time to do your spiritual work even deeper, and really focus on becoming who you're supposed to become inside. So yeah, it's all blessed, but definitely there's a lot of emotions coming through the air from so many people like going through their things, and I get affected from it. So I gotta go through my
Yeah.
ups and my downs, and there's lots of changes, and you gotta kind of like flow through it. What about you? How are you out there in Bali?
Honestly, man, I feel so blessed to be here right now. I think it's probably one of the nicest places in the world that I could possibly be. And
Yeah.
you know, I ran into a friend today, and she's from San Francisco, and she just got this kind of impulse. She had a store out in San Francisco, shut down her store, and just moved to Bali. And she did that
Yeah.
like right before this whole thing went down. And there's all these like privately owned stores in San Francisco that are now boarded up, and people who have these small businesses are just, you know, in crisis. They don't know what to do. And she just kind of had this internal guidance to leave that all behind and come here. But it's beautiful here, and it feels very safe. There's been relatively few cases of anything going on here, and we have a lot of freedom. Like I can
Uh-huh.
leave my house and come and go as I please, and have people over at my house if I want to. It's like at my own discretion. So yeah, I feel
Nice.
super blessed right now.
Sweet. That's awesome. Which
Yeah,
part of Bali you live in?
Ubud. Yeah,
Okay.
I've been in Ubud
I
now for like 2 years solidly, but on and off for like 4 years now. Have
That's
you
where the
ever
cool people
visited?
live.
Yeah, yeah, that's where the cool people live. That's why I'm here, of course.
Yeah, you're super mega
Yeah,
cool. Jake Cobran.
just be one of the cool people. Yeah,
Nice.
but but yeah, man, I've been really loving your your output lately and how you're using social media as a way to connect with people in this time, and the compassion that shines out from you to people in this time. And yeah, I feel like now more than ever, it's important to empower people, you know, because there's so many people in this time that are really struggling, you know. It's it's natural to feel at least some anxiety given how
Oh yeah.
uncertain things are.
Well, I am a sensitive person. Um, I can feel a lot of emotions on a normal day, and I've been doing my spiritual work to become a better person for the last, couple decades almost. Still getting there. Uh, and this whole situation with the pandemic, where things kind of get shut down and people are forced to stay home and observe their lives, just freaks out people who didn't want to do their homework, who didn't want to face their fears, their issues, their personal evolution. So right away, I'm like, okay, everybody's freaking out. I got you, bro. I've been there, all my life.
Yeah.
So here's as many tools as I can give you. Here's a life raft for you not to drown in emotion, for you to know that things will be okay, for you to know that this is meant to be, to have purpose. Maybe some days just to have a distraction and a laugh. I've also done just kind of like shitty music videos and shitty skateboarding
Yeah.
videos and whatever. Like I basically, like, as an artist, I'm just supposed to do a painting and people be like, oh, that looks trippy, and that's about it. But no, like it's really the art's just the cheese to attract people to the light inside me, which I would like to share with people. But I can't bust a painting every
Yeah,
single
man.
day, and I can only do so many throwbacks before people think that I paint like I painted 20 years ago. Uh, so, I'm starting to get more comfortable with just simply being a dude who talks to the camera and be like, yo, man, this is how I see it, or this is some points of views. And I'm not trying to like be like a guru kind of character. I'm too much of a dude for that. But basically, I'm just trying to help out. If there's been always suffering in the world, but we all mask it enough to not have the dire need to, do something about it. But now it seems like there is a dire need to do something about it. And I'm like, all right, dude, let's do this. And here's whatever I can do to help out. And I'm really happy there's a lot of resonance. There were some things I wasn't so comfortable with, or that I thought like, oh, people are going to think I'm trying to be something that I'm not, like the prayer thing. I was like, oh man, am I making myself look like I think I'm a shaman?
Dude,
But then I was like, yeah, thank you.
I really
But
liked
then
it.
I
And
was
like,
like, go ahead.
oh yeah, and the animations were super psychedelic. It really
Right.
took me back to some places. It's like, wow, I've been there, you know?
Totally. I was just gonna do the prayer without any effects, just as okay, this is my sharing. But different animators hit me up, and in that moment, Bert Veracruz had hit me up and came through with this amazing animation. I was like, oh my god, it would be great to share the state of being in the medicine where all these amazing messages come to you. So it kind of like
Mhm.
makes it a little bit, it makes the mind a little bit more open. Like when you see those visions, it kind of puts you a little bit in the state of like, wow, I'm in the tunnel of everythingness and not my body anymore. And then the words would echo, which is also something that happens in that space, can talk to you. So it's not really me talking to the viewer, it's themselves or their higher selves or the medicine or God or whatever you want to call it. And it's just like a very clear reminder of what this is all about. Like, don't freak out, be comfortable with your pain, with your tears, with your fear. It's part of the process, but have faith, and we all want to improve as humanity, etc. It's like a little bit of a hypnotism magic spell for people to lift themselves up, because everything else is bringing us down, from the media to the alternative information to sometimes our friends who are freaking out and then pass on their bad vibes to you. And everything's very sensitive. Everybody's lost their skin and the nerves are exposed. So I'm just going out there and being like, shh, 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 shh. Let's take care of these gentle nerves. It's all good. We can rebuild the skin again. Something like that.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful, man. Have you found yourself confronted with your own anxiety about the situation, or have you gone through that vulnerability and that fear yourself to be able to relate better with people?
Yes. I can be very anxious on a normal day. I got my own traumas. I got my own Pisces sensitivities. I'm empathic. Sometimes I feel things I don't understand why I'm feeling it. But when this started happening and people were all of a sudden being like, holy shit, what? What's going on? There was a anxiety in the air that I will wake up in the morning and I'd be like shaking in my bed as if
Oh,
like
wow.
there's a current of nervousness running through the earth and I was just part of that cable running that nervousness. And it was really hard for me at the beginning, so I had to just kind of like ground it and calm myself down and meditate and try to use that electricity going through me to touch other deep parts of myself. But definitely, I've cried in like a few times in this process in the last month. There's been frustrations of not being able to leave Peru, even though I accept it and I'm happy I'm here, and I still choose to be here over going back to my apartment in Canada. There's been big frustrations of like I lost my power to go back home and what's going on and when will I resume my life. We're all going through that frustration and the force asking to have patience with either resuming your life or starting a new life. I feel like after this I'll be
Hmm.
starting a new
Yeah.
life in a way with new people, with new perspectives, with new points of views of how I want to run it. I won't get into details, but yeah, and there's been like really different challenges, like the whole situation with jobs, you lose a lot of your jobs. I had like a bunch of festivals and performances and workshops that I was about to do over summer. And that's what was going to pay a bunch of my bills because I just bought an apartment in Montreal and I got like a lot of taxes to pay for it. And I got condo fees and etc. Like I had like a big chunk that I needed to pay, and then all those jobs got removed, and that also created anxiety in me. But I've resolved it by now. I just kind of like know that everything's meant to be. I leave it up to the universe. Everybody else is going through those financial struggles, so it's almost like the system has to kind of like give it up and be like, yo, like if nobody can pay anything, what are you gonna do? Put the whole population in jail if they can't pay their bills, or should we just kind of like chill out and maybe like forgive certain debts that are not like super crucial? I don't know. I would hope that the economy in general would revamp as to make it more fair on everybody. And once I can resume work, I can go and pay the things that I still owe. So yeah, there's a bunch of things being restructured in my life, and I knew from the beginning that if I put any resistance, I would be crushed. That I had to just flow like water, go with
Mm.
it, surrender. Like the lessons that ayahuasca teaches you all the time.
Yeah.
Go with
Absolutely.
it, surrender, or I'll fucking crush you, motherfucker.
Yeah,
So this
definitely.
is like an ayahuasca ceremony we're all going through together. And I gotta like go with it and make the most out of it and get my lesson and help my brothers also have that perspective so they can also flow with it and not get crushed from the situation. So yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah, I
about you,
really,
Jake?
yeah. I think because I've also done ceremony work and I've done a lot of work with psychedelics in general, and that kind of experience of having the floor that you stand on completely ripped out from under you and you don't know what's going on and it feels really kind of tumultuous and uncertain is something that is sort of familiar to me. I kind of, because I've had so many of those experiences, just have this sort of trust that no matter what, it all kind of is going to work out. I feel like
Sure.
I've kind of been here before, and I know also because some of the experiences I've had in ceremony that have been the most challenging, for example, have actually been some of the most positive and life-changing experiences of my whole life. And I think a lot of people are getting a similar kind of medicine right now to go through something really challenging, but I feel like it has the potential to really change things as a whole, personally and collectively, in a really positive way. And I enjoyed
Right.
listening to your talk with Charles Eisenstein. His article was talking about that a lot, that this is really a time to evaluate what's working for us, both personally and collectively. And hopefully, if enough people can realize that the way things have been going is not working, we can actually step into a whole new chapter of our existence as a species and as a collective, and usher in this kind of like new era through this.
Right. Yeah, there's so many potentials for our individual lives and as a world collective. And I personally would like to focus on the positive things we can do as opposed to staring too long at the negative possibilities that could happen. It was good to talk with him yesterday because he's a very smart dude. It's almost like intimidating to have to interview him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he kind of like reminded me that I shouldn't take the dark forces so seriously or be so afraid of them, you know, that we're empowering them too much. And I
Hmm.
totally agree with that. But then all of a sudden, Era is talking about like the dark forces, they're coming for us. And then you're like, oh, am I being a fool by not listening to them and helping the good people fight that fight? So you got to kind of look at it, and then it sucks you in a little bit, and then it's got your energy, and then you got to engage or really remove fully from it, and you feel kind of like irresponsible or even aloof by not engaging to some degree.
Yeah.
So it was good to for him to remind me, like, yeah, observe it, but don't give it too much credit. You know, really, the whole bus is driven by all of us, by the way we live our individual lives, and uniting and calling through the better world we want. And I would
Mm.
love to think that we can do that as humanity. I don't always want to think like, oh, humans are a bunch of dummies and we're always going to fuck it up. I think there's an awakening, and more people are starting to care, and more people are starting to do something about it. So let's keep that up and hope that we come out of this process a lot better than we went into it.
Yeah, I think empowering people to access their own creativity is really important, because people need to feel like they can make a contribution and that their voice is important to be heard and stuff like that. And a lot of people might look at somebody like you and you have this like this spark, or this creative spark, and kind of say to themselves like, well, I don't have that. But it's it's helping people realize that we all have that same universal divine creative spark that we can then create from, and it's through that and letting that be a guiding force in our lives that we can move forward and create beauty, together in this world.
Right. Well, we're all got different powers and different strengths. Mine is one that allows myself to maybe look like I'm special or got a spark because I'm a communicator. So I'm communicating the inner spark within me all the time. So people are like, whoa, he's got it. I can see it. While other people might have the spark, but they communicate it through their job. Like if they're a businessman, they're crushing the business, and there's no
Yeah.
way for people to see that because they're not at the job, and all they see is that he was able to afford a big car or house, I don't know, or somebody who plays soccer, or I don't know. There's just so many ways that the spark or God expresses through you. Ours is a little bit more obvious. Like we put it on a canvas, like, look at my spark. Isn't it cool? Uh, like I'm looking at
Totally.
your spark behind you. It's like totally creeping on you. And he's just like, oh, Jay Coburn, I'm gonna grab your brains. Um, But yeah, so that's our magic, that's our magic trick, like making ourselves look like we're gods on earth, because we are gods on earth. But everybody else is too. It's not like we're gods and no one else is gods. We are it. Everybody else is it. Once we realize it, let's see how we can channel that electricity into our being and our actions and the world. Wouldn't it be so great if we just lived the rest of our history on planet Earth as humans, knowing that we're God made into matter, to just enjoy the blessings of the physical world and sharing our gifts in order to just all be happy? That'd be so nice.
Yeah, that would be dope. I would really like that for sure. What
Let's
was
do
your
it.
journey to yeah, man, let's do it. What was your journey to like discover that? Was that something that was easy for you when you were younger? Did you already know that you had that spark within you, that divinity, or was this like a process that unfolded?
I knew it was different. I didn't know if that different was a good thing or a bad thing. Uh, Teachers could recognize it. Teachers would sit down and talk with me, and I would be like 8 years old, and they would see like, holy shit, this kid's different, and he's got something really special about him, because I was totally different from the other kids in my school who were all playing soccer, and I wanted to like make books. I was like 8 years old, and I already had a company called Dyer Books, where I would like cut things from magazines and like GI Joe catalogs and stuff, and then I would typewriter it and make like a book about GI Joes, or a book about Transformers, or whatever toy or cartoon I was really into at the time. I would make like a special essay report, not even for school, just because I know I just needed to do that. So the teachers were always like, holy shit, what's up with this kid? But then I was a fucking asshole at the same time too. I was just like this fucking asshole, and the teacher's like, dude, like, you're so special, but why are you such an asshole? It's because I was just a bad kid doing bad things, and that went into my 20s. There was just pain and frustrations, and being different makes it that you feel like you're not appreciated, so you do bad things to try to like fight that. And this world's not very nurturing for the person that's different. They all say like, you are good if you're good at this kind of intelligence, and you're good if you're good at soccer, and if you're not good at those things, you're a nerd and you're a weirdo. And I'm like, fuck no. So I've got all this anger and I want to destroy the world. So yeah, I wouldn't say that I saw myself as a God incarnate, but there was always a spirituality. It's really like ironic because, like, say my teens, I always wanted to be down with God, but I didn't know how to do that. Um, so the adults tell you, oh, well, you gotta go to church and you gotta be down with Jesus because Catholicism's the only thing in Peru. So I would go to
Uh,
church every Sunday, and then right after I go to soccer stadium and hang out with my street gang and throw rocks and bricks at people. So, which is totally not a good spiritual thing to do. But going to the church
Probably
and
not.
hearing some old guy tell me to be good never really touched my heart. It was just a bunch of words, and then my action, it wasn't really reflected in my action. So I really want to be down with God, but I didn't really have a mystic experience to really make it feel like he was there truly talking to me, other than praying. But with praying, you don't really know if that voice is God talking back to you or just your imagination. So it was only once I moved to Canada and I had a whole drunken episode, or years of that. And then I went tree planting, and through tree planting, you're just kind of like planting trees in nature by yourself. And you get a lot of time to think and be like, oh,
Mm.
this is what the world's about, all this nature and this dirt and these insects and this silence, and maybe this is God and this is spirituality, not all this cultural thing that was thrown at me, confusing me all these years. And after that, I started realizing what God was, or how to incorporate it in my life. And it's been a journey of many years to try to understand it. I'm still working at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm happy I got back to the positive side of the spectrum.
Yeah. And were you taking psychedelics also when you were doing the tree planting stuff? Was that a big part of your discovery of divinity?
Well, the thing is, like, I was doing psychedelics even in my negative days. I was smoking a lot of weed, but in a gangster kind of fashion. You know, these are like late 90s, big cars, Snoop Dogg, college
Yeah,
kids, and you just roll around the car smoking joint after joint with your friends. That wasn't a positive kind of psychedelic, mind-opening thing. Though I did chill out a little bit. Like, smoking weed made me not want to punch people in the faces as much as when I was in Peru.
that's
And
good.
then we started, yeah, that's a step. And then we started doing mushrooms. But when we would do mushrooms, we would like really get into all these plots that were like in war, you know. So like, say we do mushrooms at someone's cabin in the snow, and you run around like thinking you're all like, you know, a militia, and you're throwing. It's basically, or like I do mushrooms to go and check out like Green Day and Foo Fighters, and but also like mix it with a lot of beer. It was like I would do psychedelics, but not in a conscious like, oh, I want to expand my mind and become like wise. It was more like, let's get fucked up, dudes, you know, like that kind of
Yeah.
vibe, which I can see very much in the world of festivals these days. So like, yeah, maybe it still gets in there, the psychedelics, and fixes a couple things and opens you up. But if the intention's not there to really use it as a medicine to kind of like observe yourself and do some kind of healing, different results could happen. So yes, I was doing uh, mushrooms and weed for a minute before I went tree planting, and then once I went tree planting and I started like having this revolution inside me, and I did do a mushroom trip. I was in nature. I was looking at the river, and at one point I felt I was a tree, and I started like understanding nature a little bit more and the consciousness of nature, and how God was in that too. So
Mm.
once again, with the right intention, the psychedelics opened up a different kind of communication than when I was like a rager, hedonistic kind of dude.
Yeah. Yeah, being just in nature, man, it's so like that's such a pure medicine in and of itself. You don't even need to necessarily take something. It's just so
Right,
healing to be in nature and to realize that we're a part of this whole web of life that we're all interconnected to.
right. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Yeah, I'm a city dude, but I am enjoying my time in the country and just being more chill. And you know, I love animals and insects and trees and flowers. So yeah, it's a good time. I'm enjoying that I can have this now that my parents moved here. And yeah, I want more nature in my life to combine it with the
Cool.
city vibes.
How
You're
long have you
you're
lived in
stoked on
Montreal?
Bali.
Yeah, I love it here. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
being, in a jungle, which is sometimes not fun. Like there's always ants like everywhere. You can't
Mm.
escape the ants no matter where you go. It's like they were here way before any of the people were here. They're gonna just, it's their territory. You just have to kind of like respect that. But it's just kind of that's the trade-off for like living in a jungle.
Right.
But yeah, man, I like being surrounded by so much like beauty and life, and just go take walks out into the rice paddies and see like the most amazing sunsets you've ever seen and stuff like that. Like that helps keep me like sane and balanced and happy.
Yeah, totally. That's we're blessed, and hopefully more people can put themselves in those kind of situations.
Yeah, for sure. How long have you lived in Montreal for?
I moved to Montreal in the year 2000. In the year 2000. I don't think anyone remembers that skit by Conan O'Brien. Um,
I don't,
but
but yeah, good job.
basically, Conan O'Brien used to have this skit in the late 90s, because like the year 2000 always sounded like this crazy futuristic thing for us when we're kids. We already thought like, oh my god, when the year 2000 comes, everything will be flying cars and metal buildings. So Conor O'Brien was making fun of that, and the year or two before the year 2000, it would be a song in the year 2000 with all these crazy lights, and then, in the year 2000 this politician will turn into a robot, and so anyways, it's a dumb skit that no one remembers. But yeah, I've been living in Montreal for 20 years. I fucking love it. It's my
Cool.
city. I miss it. I just bought my apartment there. I miss it. I got good friends, great artistic community, more on the street art. There's not much visionary there. It's more street art, skateboarders, um, just like more urban East Coast mode, which is totally me too. And but there is like a spiritual community too. It's just I'm kind of like stick to myself. I'm like 41. I'm not out there going to all the parties, meeting all the people. I'm kind of like very satisfied just being alone at home, painting and going out skateboarding and chilling with my friends in Parc La Fontaine or walking in the mountain. But and there's tons of festivals in summer if I'm there, and I like Comic Con, 514 represent. But yeah, I like it out there.
Yeah, man, it seems awesome. I've never been there before. I've only hung out on the west coast of Canada, like Vancouver and stuff like that. Montreal seems
Yeah.
to have a really cool, like, circus community, you know, like
Right.
lots of
Yeah,
fire
Cirque du
stuff and
Soleil is
stuff
from
like that.
there, and yeah, Cirque du Soleil is from there, and there's a lot of schools from that. There's just a lot of creative people in general, because it's French. The English community doesn't just like flock there and move there and gentrify it, meaning that the gentrification, which has been happening, is a little bit slower, and the cool people don't get kicked out of it. So the artists and the musicians and the creatives can afford to live there, and it's kept the city island cool and happening. Though now the gentrification that's happening is people coming from France. So France is going through some kind of like economical situation, and since it's a French province, they're like, oh yeah, French people, come all you want. So there's been like 100,000 French people move in and buy all the good properties. So all my
Yeah.
neighbors are French, but whatever. It's a fun place, and I love it. And yeah, can't wait till this is lifted up so I can go there and hang out again with my community.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah, and
find
yeah, come
ways,
visit anytime.
dude? Yeah, I'd love to. Do you find ways to exhibit your art and stuff? Like, are you active in the kind of like local scene and art scene there?
When I first started coming out as an artist, when I finished college in 2003, I was like just putting my art in every show possible, just because I needed people to see it and to find my community. Now it's like if I get invited in Montreal, which doesn't happen too much, there's like a few galleries, but there's just so many cool and talented artists that it's not like they have to have Chris. Like if there's a visionary art show wherever there's in the world, I get invited, and that's great. And then I gotta decide if I want to ship it or whatever. In Montreal, there's just like so many amazing street artists and talented people that they can do very great without Chris being involved with it. And if anything, I'm like a weird anomaly there, because I'm street art and I'm skate art, but I'm also like the spiritual dude. And that's not say like what's cool in Montreal.
Mm.
And it's a nice, refreshing flavor for them. And the one doing that thing, and it's good to be unique. Like I wouldn't want there to be like an army of spiritual street artists in Montreal, because then I would lose my identity. Um, but sometimes I do shows, but not that often. I'm also gone a lot, so a lot of times they like, "Hey, Chris, participate in this," and I'm like, "I'm somewhere else, sorry." Um, but I also don't need to do it because I got enough of a following or sales that sometimes doing more events, it just takes away my time, and I just want to paint and be like, okay, I made enough money this month, I just want to paint, and I don't have to like keep on being everywhere and doing everything. It's been an important lesson for me to learn to say no to a lot of things, say no to jobs, say no to events, say no to trips sometimes, because this is my life. And when I do these things, it's for other people, and I'm of service, and I'm happy to keep on spreading my personal medicine. But at one point, I gotta be like, okay, when do I reap the rewards of all my hard work? When do I just fucking lie on the beach and get a tan and eat a fruit and say, thank you, God, for letting me exist? At what point do I
Yeah.
say enough work, Chris? You've conquered the mountain. Is your ego satisfied? You gotta fucking be the coolest guy of every mountain you climb, or can you just fucking chill out and know that you're fine just the way you are and not have to do it all? As in other times of my life. In other times of my life, it's like, I want to rule the street art, I want to rule toys, and I want to rule skateboard art, and I want to like all this ruling,
Mhm.
all this competitiveness, all this like I want to be number one. I gotta just be grateful that I got a nice position in a nice platform, which allows me to live an abundant life. And anything after that is cherries on top of my ice cream and vegan ice cream. For those vegans out there, I'm meaning Lucama ice cream out here that my
Ooh.
dad makes me. But yeah, it's the point of finding satisfaction and not having to do everything I do before I start selling out my life and only working, something like that.
Do you find like do you ever have struggles with your ego? Like, do you ever have situations where you're like, whoa, like we need to have a talk, ego, and like sit down and like because I mean you get a lot of attention for your art, and I think it's great. You have a lot of success with your work, but I can imagine that when you get to that place and just all day people are telling you how great you are, like it's gotta go to your head a little bit.
Yeah, I most of my life I've been low self-esteem because as I said, I was the loser, I was the weirdo, and then I found I never stopped doing my art though. I never stopped being myself. And now when I go back to see my friends from school, they're like happy for me, like, oh Chris, you never stopped being your weird self, artistic misfit, and look at you, you're traveling the world, being successful. We're all so happy for you. So I've healed that thing of the past, but it always kind of stayed in me like, oh man, I'm not enough. I need to find my happiness through the validation of others. If they like me, then I can like myself, which is
Mm.
bullshit. But that's how I've operated most of my life. Then all of a sudden, 10 years ago, I started being popular in art. And at the beginning, I was like, there was a feeling. There was like a whoa, like people are treating me as if I'm this special, famous guy. And it tripped me out. Luckily, I live in Montreal, as I told you, and I go back and people treat me normal. Like if I lived in Colorado, holy shit, that'd be a lot trickier on my ego because wherever I go, people be like, "Oh my God, Chris Dyer." When I go to Colorado, I'm tripped out. I'm like, "Oh my God, like, yeah, dude, I paint. Who cares?" And that's how people treat me in Montreal. It's like, okay, yeah, you're an artist, you do well, hi, I respect you, and move along. Like, no big deal here. It's like East Coast. It's like they don't give a shit in a friendly way. Um, but at the same time, I know who I am. My happiness should come from me, not from some stranger who doesn't know me. And I can't live my life thinking I'm this grand thing because other people tell me that. And if anything, me meeting fellow visionary artists at the beginning of this whole thing and me thinking like, oh wow, they're gonna be this awesome, open-hearted, spiritual being because I look at their art and they look like they're enlightened. And then I'm meeting them and then they were like really, some of them were arrogant and closed off. It really me chocó, like as we would say in Spanish. It kind of like fucked with me a little bit. I mean, like, oh my God, why are they like not this beautiful being as I thought? And that really always made it very clear, like, never be that. Always stay sweet, always stay nice, always try your best to be a good person. There's nothing good that could happen from me thinking I'm like fucking better than anybody else because I do nice art. I do nice art. Other people clean toilets very well. We're all the fucking the same. We all got our talents. And I appreciate people telling me nice things all day long. And I try my best to not let it, if anything, like I try my best to not let it actually inflate my ego. Um, I just want to stay grounded and nice. And if anything, if they see me as famous or special in their eyes, it's a chance for me to use that to make them extra happy. Maybe like, all right, like, okay, you think I'm this great thing? Well, we're homies. And they're like, what? That's not possible because there's this division between us. It's like, fuck that shit. Let's crush it. We're all one. And that's the beautiful thing about that because I can use that power to crush that ego separation that people sometimes put on me. Um, So yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's so nice to just be nice to each other and not have a mask, because the mask of like I'm a cool guy is that it's a mask to hide my real insecurity inside. So even if I'm insecure, if I'm real about my insecurity, be like, oh, dude, I'm just a loser like you. Who is a shit? Then we can unite and be one and be friends. And I don't need a mask to protect me, because there's nothing to be protected from. You know,
Mm.
we're all just being kind to each other, and that's how I want to live.
Fuck
Mhm.
yeah, man. We're
Yeah.
were visionary artists actually like kind of dicks to you when you started getting into the visionary art community? Because I found like for the most part the visionary art community is like the sweetest little bunch of artists that I've ever encountered in my life.
Right. Well, picture this. This is, I'm talking the year like 2009, 2010, when the visionary scene was like 20 people. And it was 20 people who each one was like, was a fucking god in its own world, Like
Mm.
imagine the top 20 who are still the top 20 today, but there was nobody else. So every festival they go to, they're like the gods and shit. And then they put us all together in Hawaii, and then you got all of these big egos wanting to outshine each other, like everybody wanted to be the star of the show. um
Yeah.
Including me, I guess, to some degree. Like I always kind of like stand behind and like let other people do, but there was a part of me that was like, um I'm cool too. The thing about me is like I'm not your usual visionary, or maybe these days there's more visionaries of my style, cartoony, street art, thick black lines, like, I'm very urban.
Mm.
And now there's more of that flavor. I would like to hope that I helped encourage those young artists who've gone in that direction. Whatever. That's my ego speaking there. But the point is, when I arrived to the scene as a East Coast Canadian guy in a scene of West Coast American guys in Hawaii, I was the weirdo. I was the anomaly. I was the, well, he does visionary art, but he does it in this like, skateboard street art style, and he's kind of like goofy, and I was just not. I'm not a shanty kind of dude, and that was kind of weird for some. So it's not like they're actually like full on like fuck Chris Dyer, but there was a little bit of like a I don't know about you kind of vibe, and there were certain feelings. And once again, we were all like 10 years younger. So in this 10 years process, a lot of those people who might have been a little bit standoffish to me have learned to chill down their egos and open up and be more loving and caring. But yeah, at the beginning, there was certain things where I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this person is so cold to me. I thought they were going to be like, I thought they were all going to be like Alex Gray, who is a
Yeah.
really
He's the
loving,
real deal.
kind person, no matter what. He's like the king of the hill, but he's also the nicest, sweetest uh, dude, which makes him so much better and real, which for me validates that he deserves to be the king of the hill of visionary art.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, anybody can show him like a little sketch that they made. It doesn't matter if it's like the only sketch they've ever made. And he just loves it. He's like, oh, wow, you're making art. Like, I love that. There's like
Right,
no like judgment, no like criticism, just like encouraging people to just, yeah, like free your artistic expression. And it's like
right,
you get around him and Allison, that's like contagious, where you're like,
right.
I can do anything. Because like they have this mentality like I can do anything.
Totally. Well, once again, going back to those first days, um, each one of us had such big personalities, but very defined and particular. They thought that if they threw us all together, we would immediately be this gang that's best friends. And at the beginning, there was a little bit of like just figuring out how these energies interplay. Throughout the years, we
Mm.
met more times. We learned like, oh, this person's like that. I gotta navigate this way. And then there was a new wave of artists coming through. So like, say Rootwire time, so that's 2012-ish, there was already like a new generation, the Randall Roberts and Michael, Mr. Melty, And because they were younger and they were more humble and they were just happy to be part of it. They're like, oh my God, like we're entering this world. We're just happy. So everybody's really, the egos were less inflated because they didn't automatically, they weren't stars for years before they put them together. They're just like, oh, we're doing it too. And we're so happy. You know, and you're a younger generation visionary too. So
Yeah.
you're just stoked to be part of it. And you want to be nice to everybody because you're like just grateful to be part of it. While maybe the older generations kind of like already had their thing going and that they didn't need to be a part of a platform in order to shine. And there was a little bit of a bumping of energies that we've all had to like learn how to navigate. And some people would get along with some and some people wouldn't get along with others. So when I was at that Alchemist Hawaii trip, I knew like, okay, I don't really want to hang out so much with these visionaries as much as I love their art. But these are some sweethearts, and let's go and drink some tea, and I can vibe with that energy right there. So there was figuring out. By now we all respect each other. By now we've all hanged out a million times, and we love each other. So yeah, it's gotten a lot better. But I had trickiness at the beginning.
Yeah. Romeo Sresta was there at that thing, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
and that's one that I did not resonate with.
yeah. Yeah, he's a trip, man. He's a
he's
funny character.
Yeah, I don't want to bad talk him on air, but it's just that was one of the people like, oh my God, it's this Buddhist monk, and he's gonna bring true spirituality to us, and it's gonna be like so like mystic and amazing. And then I met him, and first thing he does is shove his album of him hanging out with famous people, and I'm like, why do I have to see pictures of you hanging out with George Harrison? Like, what are you proving here? Like, can we just chill?
Dude, it's George Harrison, you know?
Yeah, I know. Like,
I'm just joking.
I would just never do that. Like, what am I trying to validate here? And like if I'm cool, I know I'm cool, and I don't have to like bring my evidence with me. So it was kind of like strange for me, and I'm gonna leave it there. And all love to Romeo and to every other person. We all fucking humans trying to figure ourselves out in this crazy world, and we all got our ups and our downs and our egos and our battles. And I'm not saying any of this out of judgment. It's just that in this world, I gotta like also discern, oh, maybe I don't want to hang out with that person because the influence might activate something I'm trying to calm down in myself. I may all hang out with that person who's more easygoing because that's something that I would like to be like.
Right.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's like where, judgments or attractions come from, is like we're attracted to be around people that reflect the qualities in ourselves that we want to embody and become more of, and we're repelled when people reflect the qualities of ourselves that you don't like. You're like, oh man, like this guy reminds me of like the shitty parts of myself that I'm not proud of, so I don't want to hang out with that person.
Right. Whenever we judge or criticize some negative aspects of somebody else, is because it's a reflection of our own negative traits that we want to resolve. So by hanging out with them, we get an influence that energizes that aspect that we want to resolve. So better to just discern, not judge, and move along with the people who inspire us.
Yeah, totally. Somebody asked a question here. I'm curious what they said. Said for Chris.
Hello to all my friends tuning in. I see you.
So, yeah, this question says, for Chris, is there an eco-friendly option to spray cans? Very specific question.
Eco-friendly option. There's cans that have less fumes, but the issue with cans is not the fumes so much, because I use a mask and by the time it's out there, it's gone and it dissolves. It's more that I guess the can needs to be contained in a piece of metal. The can's a piece of metal, it's got some plastic. That's less sustainable. It's been something I've been thinking about for years. Like, how do I keep on doing murals and not continue using spray cans? But it's basically, I'm like, okay, well, so what's my option? So I get to the place, and now, what's up, Herbert? And it's my homie. And instead I will use buckets of paint and a brush. which would take me so much longer. It would make it that I make less money per trip. It makes it that I can do less free murals for the people. And then the bucket that holds paint also has metal around it. And I would have to buy like 10 of them and then mix. And like, does that really save metal at the end of the day? And if it extends my time and I got to use more resources. So I'm like, how do I do murals without using the containers that hold the paint in general? I'm sure there's ways. I'm sure I can grab chemicals and mix it, but really, this is not realistic. I'm traveling to like really random places and trying to bust murals many times for free, many times for people, many times charity. Like I went to Palestine and I busted murals. I could have not done that by mixing buckets. Like it was madness in that refugee camp. Like I had to like fucking bust my mural quickly and duck out before something bad would happen to me. So yeah, actually, like spray cans are not that terrible. It's like a really small drop in the bucket or in the ocean. That's not excusing me from using them, but I always gotta like measure my options. Like, okay, I am flying there. That's another drop in the bucket, and I am using resources. But if I drop a mural that makes people happy for years, maybe that balances that out. I'm not going there straight up to go on vacation and say fuck it. I'm doing it to make people happy, to sustain myself, to spread on positivity. So I always gotta observe like if the trade is worth it. But say the thing with the flights. I would so love if there's no such thing as reusable cans. I would love that. I would so love if the flights were not using fossil fuels. I would love if the flights used, electric, solar, energy. But there's not that option, So the world kind of has to like evolve with me so I can have that option to take. But if there's no options like reusable cans, it's harder for me to stop being myself and doing my things. Like say if you're a musician, you need a guitar and the guitar's made out of wood, or if you're a skateboarder, that's made out of wood. And what, should I stop skateboarding because I'm killing trees? So everything has a price, and it's a really tough situation to want to stop doing your passion in order to save the little bit of nature that you use. So yeah, reusing is good. That's why I paint broken skateboards. That's why I try to make my mural so good that nobody would want to paint over it, and that just stays there forever. Yeah, I don't know. I try my best, but I'm not perfect, and that's all I can say about that.
Yeah, it's great you're thinking about that kind of stuff and being so conscious about your impact. I feel that way with like tattooing uses so much plastic. Like it's crazy how much plastic you go through in like one tattoo session. Like it's nuts. And I've talked to other tattoo artists about it. Like, why isn't there an alternative to that? Why isn't there something you can cover your station with that's not plastic and it's like biodegradable or something? Because it's crazy. Is you go through like a whole, tube of saran wrap in like one tattoo session.
Right. Yeah, I think that's because, it hasn't been available to you. But as we keep on asking the world, like, hey, please make me some biodegradable plastic to use for my tattoo equipment, hopefully that will be produced, and then you'll have that option, and we'll spend that much little bit extra money to support that movement. And in the same way that, maybe rechargeable spray cans will come through. Yeah, we'll see how it develops. But I have been slowing down spray painting a little bit, and I would like to move more towards painting with latex. It just takes so much longer, and I'm all about like, that's the whole beauty of spray cans. I go there and 2 days I can just crush something and move on, and it makes it easier to make money, and it also makes it easier to give it as a gift. I think somebody had a question for you of how if there's a danger of ego for doing tattoo.
Yeah, somebody said, how safe are tattoos for our ego? I think it really depends on the intention behind it, because there's many traditions, Chris, because you got a Sakyan tattoo in Thailand, and that's a tradition that's not about ego at all. Like, you show up to the temple and you're done the tattoo is done in the ceremonious way that's just about putting this magic and prayer into your body, and it's not about how it looks or anything like that. And I mean, our egos are just our definition of ourself. We always have to have some kind of self-reference point to exist as a separate entity. And with the right intention, a tattoo can help to recreate your ego so that you see yourself in a kind of like higher state. If you know that is your intention behind the tattoo, to remind yourself of that, or to protect you against your ego or whatever, you know?
Right. When I got my first tattoo, it was 1996. And I got a little tattoo on my leg here in Peru. And I just thought it was so cool because nobody had tattoos back then. So people would be like, whoa, you got a tattoo, you 16-year-old kid? And I'd be like, yeah, my parents allowed me. So then my tattoo was coming from a place of like, I'm better, or my ego got activated from that tattoo. But by now, 2020, everybody's got a tattoo. It's not like, oh my God, you got a tattoo? What a crazy. No, like most people got tattoos now. Now
Yeah.
it's about like what style of tattoo you got. What is your tattoo saying? What's the intention? It's almost like a way to express yourself through your body. So it's not, I don't think any longer as is oh, I'm better than you. Maybe if you had like a $50,000 Mr. Cartoon tattoo, you could use it as an ego, like, look at my Mr. Cartoon tattoo. Did you see that documentary yet?
No.
It's
Mr.
it's on Netflix. It's called LA Originals, and it's a documentary on Netflix about Mr. Cartoon, who's the cholo tattooer from LA, who's tattooed all of the hip hop stars. It's an interesting thing. I always like stories of artists, but it's very much about being cool and cool. And these days, I'm just kind of over like documentaries are telling me like he's cool because this person says he's cool, and he's cool because this cool person is. It's just like, all right, he's cool. I get it. Like, you know, but where are we going with this? What does cool do in the end? You know, like, are we doing something with the cool? There was like a really short part in the documentary where he goes and like teaches a class in a high school, and that's as much as he used his power to, you know, help out. And I guess, you know, like doing cholo, chicano artwork is a way to kind of like give props to a minority. So that's good too. But anyways, so the point about ego stuff is that, yeah, I don't know. I don't think any longer tattoos are an ego thing. We want to beautify ourselves. I don't think that making ourselves beautiful or express ourselves through our bodies, it necessarily has to be an ego thing. You know, like I feel beautiful inside. I want to express myself beautiful in the way I look. I'm an artist. I love beauty. I want to create beauty. I admire beauty. I want to express it through myself. Why not? That's not a bad thing. That's an expression of the divine, as long as my ego doesn't use it as the reason why I'm beautiful or good.
Yeah, amen. We got like 3 minutes left on this thing. If you want, we can keep chatting in another one, or we can wrap it up here, whichever you feel.
I have an interview with my psychic in 3 minutes myself, so I gotta go.
Cool, man.
Yeah, yeah.
This is cool. Maybe like we can take like one more question or something, like a short question to wrap it up.
Yeah, I talk with my psychic like every now and then when I need to know what's the parallel dimensions up in my future to know how to navigate them a little bit better. It always helps
Cool.
me out.
That's awesome. Awesome, man. Well, this was fun. Thanks for
Yeah,
on
totally.
alive.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Jake. I appreciate you and your interviews and what you're doing. And thank you for everybody who tuned in. We love you. Stay strong, stay balanced, keep on doing your work. We got this. Even through the struggles are helping us grow. So just keep on purifying, keep on opening up your channel so we become an antenna of the most high energy that's being opened into planet Earth, and have faith that we will be creating heaven on earth eventually, as we create heaven on earth in our hearts. So keep on doing your work. Thank you so much for what you do. We support you, and we're here to reflect more love and kindness that we can create in our hearts to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, brother. See you next time.
See you soon.
Blessings.
All right. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope this podcast brought nourishment to your soul and mind and heart and spirit. And if you'd like to hear more, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to my SoundCloud account. And if you're listening to this in the future, when I have these uploaded to various podcasting platforms, please subscribe to those as well. And woohoo, we made it. I did it. I found out a way to get these all up there. And if you want to see these conversations live, make sure to follow me on Instagram. I am Cobrin on Instagram. And I am doing 3 or 4 of these conversations live per week with a lot of amazing people. So you get to see the conversations not only happen in the immediate space of when they're occurring, but you get to see them several weeks in advance from when I am posting these to listen to afterwards. So please check that out. I have all the info to find more from this week's esteemed guests, and follow my Instagram account to see who is upcoming on the perennial lineup of inspired speakers, thinkers, and artists. So thank you again for listening. Blessings to you wherever you may be in the world. I hope that you are safe. I hope that you are staying sane in these crazy times. Much love. This is Jake Cobrin with the Quarantine Sessions podcast. Until next time.